Good afternoon. It is Monday, December 19th. And no D&D with my buddies today. We got a cancellation, so I'm not going to be doing that. But that kind of worked out because I got plans tomorrow and I was like, when am I going to do movie day? Well, it canceled today. That means I can do movie day today. Now, obviously, at some point, got to get back into the James Bond. I'm so close to it, to catching up. But it's right before, it's less than a week until Christmas. So I gotta keep watching Christmas movies, and I ordered one this past week. One that I didn't own. A new one. One that I haven't seen in many years. Ernest Saves Christmas. That'll be fun. I have a few of the Ernest movies. Not necessarily a few of the best ones, but a few of the ones that are really easier to come by. Not all the Ernest movies are as easy to come by as others. But I grew up with Ernest. And I do have a few recollections of this movie and reindeer stuck in like a warehouse and folks being like, how do we get those down? Because they're on the ceiling, because they're flying reindeer. But regardless, I've not seen this movie in a long time. A holiday comedy unlike any other. So yeah, today became movie day, and for movie day, I'm gonna watch Ernest Saves Christmas. And I would give Ernest Saves Christmas a 6.7 out of 10. From the back of the box. High-flying reindeer, mischievous elves, warp speed sleigh rides. Get set for a magical dose of holiday cheer, zany season's greetings, and a spellbinding special effects in this fast-paced, heartwarming comedy hit. When Santa Claus decides to retire and pass on his magic bag of Christmas surprises to a new Saint Nick, he enlists the aid of a hilarious assortment of characters, including that lovable know-it-all, Ernest P. Worrell. Jim Varney. Along the way, Santa and Ernest help a cynical teen experience the season's spirit like never before, and that's where the fun and magic begins. Ernest Saves Christmas. One delightful, surprising tale you'll never forget. So, this movie from 1988, I believe, is about Santa having a succession plan to the next person that will take over the mantle of Santa. So, what was that? 6 years before the Santa Claus? And admittedly, it follows Santa trying to, get in contact with and convince the individual that he's selected to be the next Santa, as opposed to someone all of a sudden inheriting the job and having to figure out, well, how do I do this now? But just interesting, because that does not, I don't know, maybe that's a very common Christmas story trope, and I just am not aware, but it feels specific. Anyways, it's funny. It's one of them comedies that kind of relies on situations are awkward for a lot of the humor, and so it makes me feel awkward because that's how comedy be. But it's funny, and I love the couple of guys who were the cooks at the camp in Ernest Goes to Camp, are manning the freight at an airport, and they have the reindeer break out and hang out on the ceiling, which is all just a set that's made to look like the ceiling of a building, and a camera, and a film flipped upside down, so that instead of walking on the floor, it looks like they're walking on the ceiling. Very simple special effect, but it's interesting. And then lots of, near the end, when Ernest starts flying around the sleigh, just lots of little visual effect of a little trail on there. So, when they talk about special effects in here, it's not like they don't have them. It's an older movie, and it's definitely not a super high budget. But, it's it's the second of the Ernest movies. And so they're still definitely, putting some production into it. whatever, the runaway teen that ends up bunking with Ernest, stealing Santa's sack, and eventually feeling bad about the fact that she's going to ruin Christmas for all the children, goes and returns it at the end, so she has character arc. There's the ups and downs of Santa trying to convince this former, local children's TV host to believe and then take on the mantle of Santa instead of going on to star in some B horror movie where he feels really uncomfortable because he has to be like violent and use foul language, and he's like children's show host that that Santa would look at and be like, that's the kind of person would be a good Santa. And so he does not like the idea of violence and foul language in front of children. He likes things like please and thank you. Simple things. Might be the first time that we see Ernest's home, because I don't think we saw Ernest's home in Ernest Goes to Camp, but we do in here. And just sort of that redneck yard kind of aesthetic. But no, it's a fun one. It has the lady who in the first Home Alone movie was at the airport and who Kevin's mother was like bartering like earrings and all that kind of stuff to trade tickets to get home a little sooner. That lady is in here as like a receptionist at the Children's Museum. And I love just like these little beats through it as she is just sort of through multiple points at it, witness to what all is going on. And at the end, when Santa has passed on his mantle and he's like, well, I guess I'm not Santa anymore. And like recalling what his old name was before he was Santa kind of thing. And this lady who's sweet and, make sure, she let all the other families go home, sooner so they could be with their family because she didn't really have anyone to go home with. And sort of her and former Santa, walk away as like near our ending shot. And just sort of that little hint that maybe former Santa gets to have romance interests now that he's no longer worrying about, bringing joy and happiness to all the children of the world anymore, And of course, Jim Varney is silly. And we have a couple personas. We have the old lady persona, trying to get information, when they're trying to track down the guy who Santa wants to make the next Santa. And we have sort of his businessman persona, where he and the runaway break Santa out of jail. He was put in jail because someone basically said, this guy's crazy. He thinks he's Santa. And so they have him in a holding cell. So they go in and pretend to be whatever agents from the governor's office, and they're and they pull hijinks that obviously wouldn't work, and then walk out with the guy where the guards just kind of let him go. It's like, where he's like, don't make me tell the governor, kind of thing, of what you're doing. But, yeah, just a few of his little personas, his other costumes. And it's all set in Orlando, Florida. And they get snow at the end. Because in the very beginning, some guy from Toronto who's down there for business is like, I wish we'd have snow, so I'm stuck down here for Christmas. And so Santa gets it to snow at the end in Florida. I lived in Orlando. It doesn't snow. The whole rest of the country can be covered in snow. Not Orlando. But, yeah. So it's fun, it's silly, it's Christmas comedy. It's earnest. It makes me, it's awkward kind of comedy, but it also is very nostalgic because I loved it as a kid. One of my favorites. Otherwise, I'm still needing to get some extra rest. You know, it's been a couple weeks since I've been really sick, but I'm still at that tail end, and I'm just recovering. You know, each step of the way, you know, making changes back towards normal life. Like, as simple as last night, I laid down completely instead of propping all my pillows up, so I'm half sitting up. Not sure if I was ready for that yet, as I definitely have had more congestion today than the last few days. I'm gonna get some rest, and maybe I go back to propping myself up another night or two. I don't know. Just trying to get back to normal life, but it's just at the tail end, clinging on, making me feel just a little bit unwell. Oh well. Tomorrow I should have some fun evening plans, though, so that'd be nice. Thank you for joining me. Join me as my journey continues.